Hello everyone. Didn't expect them to make a sequel to Smile, but hey, if they can make it work, let them, sure, why not? And the first one was good enough, so how was this one? I'll tell you. However, did the series really need a sequel? No, not really. The first one was good enough, but it could have been so much worse. And this is not one of those cases, and we're about to get to it. Now, before I go on about the whole movie, let me talk about the opening scene, because that opening scene was super tense. Now, it follows up with the cop character at the end of the first movie, Joel, and he tries to pass on the curse to another person. This time, it's a group of criminals. He sneaks over to the trap house, and he holds one of the guys hostage. And then he tries to kill him in front of the boss, apparently. I think he's the boss, or he's just another bad guy. Whatever, he does that, but it turns into a shootout, and then his whole plan unfortunately fails. And then we got poor Lewis in the background witnessing the whole thing, and unfortunately the curse is now being passed on to him, which was completely unintentional. The cop was trying to just pass it on to a couple of bad guys, to make it justified and, put a good end to it. But of course, we wouldn't have a movie if this whole plan worked out. So, of course, the plan failed, and unfortunately, Joel noticed more bad guys coming to the house, and he had to escape. Unfortunately, as he escaped, he got hit by a car. Yeah, so no matter what he did, he cannot escape death, even if he passed it on to another person. And that is the opening to the movie. Now, that opening, I don't know why, but that opening always reminded me of The Last of Us, probably because the character is named Joel. But, the vibes are there, it's in the winter, it's a really good action scene. Now, I wish the rest of the movie was kind of like this, but I'm kind of okay with what they were going with here. Now, I gotta say, I like how they carry on the smile curse in this one, and though we get an unusual type of protagonist. We get a pop star this time, we got a singer that we're gonna be following around. And now, I know for a lot of movies, we don't really get the perspective of a pop star through pretty much anything, at least anything that seems like a little bit grounded, right? Unless it's like a biopic or anything, but this one is like through a horror movie, There's no unironic tendencies here. It's just, it feels more grounded. It's like a kind of perspective that you don't really see that often. So it's very interesting that they show this here. Am I the biggest fan of how they executed it? Not really. Do I like the obvious Voss product placement? Well, of course, you can't not laugh at that, right? Now, one thing I didn't really like about what they did with this character is that there was a lot of scenes that ended up being fake outs. We spend a lot of time with poor Skye. That's the character's name, by the way. I mentioned that earlier, but let me get back to it. We spent a lot of time in like her hotel room, and I feel like we spent a little bit too much time there. It's just a lot of the movie you spend just with her hallucinating and going nuts and drinking a bunch of Voss water inside. I'm like, take this outside, do some more interesting stuff with it. Like, come on here. Well, one thing I did like about this one was that they at least showed us that there was a possible way to beat this thing, to beat this curse. I mean, the first one did it much better. I liked how they looked more into it and they talked to people who actually have beat it before. But with this one, they kind of did that same approach, but in a different way. See, there was this random guy that was texting her, and in the beginning of the movie, they make you feel like he was like some sort of detective that like knew that she was involved. Okay, let me rewind it back. Okay, so remember the Lewis guy from the beginning, right? He gets the smile curse. Skye wants to like get some narcotics. She goes up to him. He succumbs to the curse, and then he basically passes it on to her, and that's how she gets it. Later on in the movie, and there's this other guy whose brother got killed by the curse, and he was a doctor, and he had a pretty smart solution to it getting rid of the curse. Now, I really liked what they did there, and towards the end of the movie, I thought that they were actually going to beat it. And by that, they would have to like put her under and actually technically kill her for a couple minutes and then bring her back, kind of like Flatliners, right? That literally reminded me of Flatliners. But back to the point, that, spoiler alert, ended up being a fake out. I feel like the fake outs are fine. Some of those parts are very entertaining, like when she has a speech in front of everyone and then she talks about like her dead boyfriend, you get to see Jack Nicholson's son do some creepy shit, which I always love. And I thought it was funny how like you see her losing her shit like in public, and now it's affecting her image. And that's not even the biggest issue with her, it's more of a personal thing. You get to like see her more as a person instead of a star in this one, and I like that. I like the perspective. But did they overdo the hallucinations? I absolutely agree. It really got annoying to me. I'm pretty sure a lot of people theorize about what was true and what wasn't. Obviously, the whole section where she killed her mom, robbed the car, drive all the way to Long Island and do the whole procedure, that was all fake. But I think the part where she actually went out and talked to that guy, that was real. Now, they're obviously gonna make a third movie. Right? That's unavoidable, you know. When I first watched this, they had the actor introducing the whole movie to us saying that this is a universe. I'm like, whoa, they're really hyping up the Smile movies here. Like, damn, they really want to milk this thing, huh? You know what? I'm all up for it. This thing is interesting, though. If they keep presenting the curse the way they did in this movie, I'm not really all that for it. If they make each installment interesting and unique, then I'm all for it, you know? I don't want them to repeat too much of all the bad aspects from all the previous films, if you know where I'm getting at. Now, let me get into another spoiler. I've already did that for a few other topics, but I'm gonna get into this one. I feel like there's already a pattern with these films. It's kind of a sucky pattern for the characters, though. But no one ever wins. In the first one, the main character lost to the Smile Curse. In this one, Sky, unfortunately, loses it to the Smile Curse again. And yeah, this one, they really had me convinced, or almost convinced, that she was gonna beat it. I mean, there was definitely a part of me inside that thought that all of that was a fake out, or that it was never gonna end up actually happening. And I'm like, damn, I guess no one can win, right? I mean, is anyone ever gonna beat this thing? Like, you know, what's the end game here with this series? Is everyone gonna keep losing with every installment? I mean, like, I hope they don't milk this to the point where it just sucks. I'm pretty sure there's an end goal for this franchise. I know one of them is money, obviously, but I know there's hope that this thing will be beat. But the more they do this, the more we're gonna find out the origins of this thing in one way or another. I think it's much better that we don't know the origins of this, but since they're milking it the way they are, we're gonna be forced to figure that out. And if they do that in a very interesting way, then I'm all up for it. If they do it in some disappointing way, then, you know, I'm really not. You know, it could go both ways. Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out. Now, if there's one thing that these two movies get right, is that I really like how they explore the theme of trauma in both of these movies. I like the way they did it in the first one, and I like the way they did it here, too. That's definitely one of the strongest points of this movie. I like how they play in the suspense of the curse, and how the curse is using that trauma against Sky. I mean, they did that pretty well in the first one. They did a slightly better job with that here. So, you know, when you compare the two, there's some parts about the first one that they got a little bit better right here. There's some parts of the first one that are better than the ones they did with this one. So, you know, it's kind of a mixed mash, but yeah. If there's one thing I had to say before I end this review, I really liked the way they did the final kill. And I think that's gonna become a thing. You know, I loved how they did the monster in the first one. Now in this one, it was still freaking scary, just seeing it come back. You know, it kind of took me off guard a little bit, but yes. I know I've said this before, but Sky loses to the Smile Curse, and the way they do that is very interesting, and it opens so many doors for the third one. Apparently, towards the end, right, she has this whole big hallucination, and all these events happen that ended up being fake. And then she wakes up at a concert. And to me, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, if you're going crazy and all this stuff, then what happened between here and there? Were you just acting normal, or was the Smile Curse, like, taking control of your body while you were in your head? That stuff is very not well explained, you know? But then again, the monster is back. It's scarier than ever, though it'll never be as scary as the first one, because the first one, you know, setting it was all dark and everything, and there's fire, and this one is just on the stage. The monster's like, hey, I'm back and I'm bigger than ever. That thing is like a virus, and it's gonna spread to thousands of people. So what happens here is this guy kills herself in front of a crowd of thousands of people, and at the end of the day, you know, that's what the curse wanted. And now the curse is spread out to everyone. Everyone has it in the next movie, so I never expect a horror franchise to move into apocalyptic themes. Well, like, you know, there are some one-off movies that explore those themes, but for like a big franchise like, you know, for a big franchise like that, it's not something I'd expect. I am looking forward to see how they're gonna pull that off. I hope they don't screw it up, because I love seeing things that haven't been done before, and it's gonna be interesting. It's, things are not looking good for this universe. That's all I gotta say. All right, now for the final ranking, Smile 1 gets a B+. I love that one. And Smile 2 gets a C+. I really hope the next one has less confusing writing, and that's all I'm hoping for. If they pay attention to the mistakes they made in the previous 2 movies, then I'm pretty sure the third one's gonna be excellent. Now, thank you guys for watching. Right now, I'm currently working on the next episode of the Cascotch Outlaws. Make sure to stay tuned for that. Episode 6 is coming out in December. I have more reviews coming your way, so make sure to like and subscribe and do all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys later.